Hello, and welcome back to Of the People. I am Robert Chernin with my lovely co-host, Ericka Redic.
That's me.
Hi, Ericka.
Hello.
So,
I'm
sorry
really
if I
excited.
got my hackle up about
No.
President Biden. We've stayed away from that for a while, but it is so the preponderance of evidence it makes me crazy, especially if the Republicans don't act,
Oh
as
my
is their
God.
responsibility.
If they don't act, I will lose all of what little faith I have in the GOP will go down with will go the way of the dodo bird. We'll say it nicely.
Say it nicely for the folks.
Yes.
So I want to stay with the theme today is rights and responsibilities.
All right.
And I want to now go to something that I think is one of the core reasons that responsibility is no longer the focus. And that is, you'll like this one, the demise of the American male.
And,
yes. Keep in mind that I learned other than from my father, who was a great role model, I learned how to be a man, what it was to be a man from John Wayne and, Don Corleone, frankly, right?
Yep.
I mean, the smart ass part of me is the Bugs Bunny side, right? As we've documented. But when you look at, this whole Barbie movie, and you look at how American men are now portrayed, and this whole concept of toxic masculinity permeates everything. Yep. The American Psychological Association just came out and said the following.
Oh, God.
You're going to love this.
Oh, my God.
They said that, quote unquote, traditional masculinity is harmful.
What? Harmful?
Harmful. But understand where this comes from. First of all, the concept of toxic masculinity, folks, look up toxic. The word means poison.
Yeah.
It's toxic. It's poisonous. Right?
Yep.
So being a man is poisonous.
That is
we
so
have no
stupid.
role models. There's no role models in the media. You've got these Barbie films coming out, or, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Redux number 12. But here's the thing. So I'm obviously a little older than you, but not that old. Name me one sitcom in the last 30 years in TV where the father wasn't portrayed as a dunce or an idiot.
Correct. Yep.
No, name one. Come on.
I've literally been complaining about this for years. One of the reasons I stopped watching normal sitcoms and like regular television was it's all like, oh, the wife is beautiful, slender, and capable, and the husband is a dope, fat, and whatever.
Burping and farting with the boys.
Exactly. Right. And you're seeing that now. We see this in movies all of the time, right? My husband is a filmmaker. We do film reviews a lot to dig into the culture, and all of the time now, what you see in movies is this strong, independent, don't need no man, female protagonist, and the males in the movie have to be diminished, demeaned, and taken down a notch, not just to make them seem like worse characters, but to elevate the female characters more. It's like,
which by the way, there's two ways to elevate someone, and I've always said this. Yeah. You can either do the hard work and elevate yourself above the rest of the people, or you can stay where you are and push everyone else down.
Yes.
And that's really the concept here.
And so
I want to come back to responsibilities.
To me,
because
hold on, I just want to say this. To me, what we really have a problem with right now in this culture is toxic femininity. It is toxic feminism that is destroying men and women. But okay, I just had to get that out. Go ahead.
No, I don't. I don't disagree. I think the issue really is, once upon a time, and look, in all candor, I am, the last of the, misogynistic, men in the world, because I'm a guy's guy and I'm a man, and I don't, and yes, I am chivalrous and I hold doors for women, not because, and by the way, I'm not polite to women because I have to be. I'm polite to women because it's courteous and it's just good manners.
Correct.
But there is no question, if you ask anyone who knows me, I am the archetype of, a man's man.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm perfect, and it's not that, well, I think I'm perfect, but it's not that I'm perfect.
You're so perfect.
I'm very comfortable in who I am and my role, right? And
yeah.
and I understand what and here's the key, I understand what my responsibilities are. My responsibilities are as a provider. My responsibility is as a role model. Note, we have no more role models. We have influencers, right? The men that, and then we have all this media interference, and what we do is we tell men that they're bad. And by the way, it starts in elementary school.
Yes.
There is what I would call an they're going to roast me for this one, but
no, say it.
I don't care.
Say it.
There is an over feminization. Too many women in early education, in elementary education, not because they're bad teachers, but they want boys to behave like girls do. That's
right.
not what boys do.
Correct.
Boys act out. To have a boy sit there, he's a bad influence, or he's hyper, and put a label on him, and then,
now
God
we
forbid, medicate
him and tell him that he's bad. And so because girls are generally quieter, more compliant, we have labeled how boys are as being a problem. And the reality is, boys, okay, they have all this energy, and they're either going to use it to build things or destroy things. And so, I learned a long time ago, a man is going to feel like a man regardless of what he has to do to get there. And so if you tell him that he's
not
toxic,
anymore.
If you tell him that, he's whatever, and you medicate him, you tell him he's terrible, that ends up getting turned inward, where we now see this massive uptick in suicidality, in violent outbursts, in drug addiction, in overdose, and all of these things, primarily in men, not in women.
All right. And add to the fact that there has been a drastic drop of men in their prime, from 25 to 44, leaving the workforce because they're told you don't have to work, you don't have to provide, and stay in front of the computer and don't make waves, or we're going to cancel you, neutralize you, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
And what's the expression? There's a saying, and if I screw it up, I'm sorry, but what's the expression? Hard men make for good times. Good times make for weak men, and weak men make for hard times.
Right. Correct.
So guess where we are in this cycle, because you have this, what'd you call it? Toxic femininity?
Yes, absolutely.
Right? By the way, do you know how bad Go ahead.
No, we're in the weak men make hard times. Men have allowed themselves to be browbeaten by women. We're out there telling them the lies, right? We're spreading the lies that there's this gender pay gap, which has been disproven over and over again. So now men aren't the providers anymore. We tell them they have no role and no say.
Men aren't anything anymore.
Procreation. So you're not allowed to decide whether or not you have babies. And if you do, I'm going to take all your money and do whatever I want, or I'm going to kill it if I decide that I want to. You get no choices. Women have just destroyed the family, femininity, the fourth wave feminism has destroyed the nuclear family. It's destroyed manhood, and frankly, it's destroyed what it means to be a woman as well.
And you see this in single parent households or fatherless households. You see this with men not knowing do I do this? Do I not do this? I mean, look, we learned early on as men, men were supposed to be the ones asking the women out. And if women wanted to ask me out, that's fine too. But we had to deal with rejection. That was sort of part and parcel of this. But look at it this way. So you don't need a man to support yourself. You don't need a man to have a baby. Hell, you don't even need a man to have your own orgasm, right? I'm a woman. I'm responsible for my own orgasm. So much so that, it's so bad, toxic being a man. That to me is why not most, but a lot of men are now trying to become women. I mean, which is
you're better off.
Which is ludicrous to me, because physiologically there's a difference. And again, you go back to, first they're going after man's laws, and then they're going after God's laws.
That's right.
And if you can convince people that there aren't just two genders, whoa. So, but let's come back to responsibility here, because there's a political aspect to this. When we talk about toxic male, or we talk about men no longer have responsibilities, you're really talking about the flyover country men. You're not talking about the Harvard or Yale guys and the elites. You're talking about the blue collar guys who work for a living, bring home the bacon to support their family. You're talking about those traditional values. Those, over time, because we've allowed it, have been exported overseas. They're not here anymore. So what's the man supposed to be responsible for, combined with sort of all the incoming fire that we're getting culturally, and the messages out of the media and the messages out of Hollywood, that the father is an idiot, right? Look at all the sitcoms. I haven't seen one where he isn't, and even one where it's somewhat strong. You go back to All in the Family. I mean, Archie Bunker was a bigot, right? And the whole Norman Lear thing. So this whole thing with toxic masculinity, it's the demise of the American male. And look, folks, I'm not making this stuff up. It's just, if you step back and look at it, it's because you have now told men they're not responsible for anything.
Yeah.
Right? Women need to be responsible for things. I'm not putting down either gender, but there are certain areas that men were taught that they were supposed to be responsible for. Look, if a woman wants to work, let her work. I don't really care. But again, you come down to, are you raising yourself up, or are you pushing down men? And now, the way I see it, they're pushing down men.
Absolutely.
Because and they are elevating women, as relatively speaking, without having really earned it. And I know that's going to get me a lot of crap, but
correct.
I don't care.
No,
bring it in. Bring it on.
You know what? I'll join in with the crap taking with you. This is why you're seeing a rise of manga, foreign manga or anime.
What's manga?
So it's anime, right? It used to be that comic books and things like that are one of the
anime. Oh, the
cultural.
Japanese stuff. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So we used to have cartoons and comic books and things like that elevated men, that showed the superheroes, male or female, being strong, being warriors. There was She-Hulk and Wonder Woman and all of this stuff, and you didn't have to diminish Superman.
I love Linda Carter as Wonder
Captain
Woman.
America.
My favorite.
So now there's a demise of the American comic book industry in favor of these foreign animes, because they still are showing big, strong men, big, strong male characters, macho masculinity, the protector, the protagonist, and the female characters do not have to be elevated. The male characters do not have to be diminished to highlight the power and strength of all of them. So we're seeing an interesting cultural shift, or a shift in the what people are consuming for art and music. That's why you're seeing this shift of guys who are going out and, like him or hate him, who are listening to Andrew Tate, who was talking about being a man and, using strength and building muscle. And, interestingly enough, I, interviewed Zuby this week for Generally Irritable. And one of the things that he talks about is how, one of the reasons he works out and encourages other men to work out is because, we used to have to struggle and toil with nature, and we used to have to earn a living. We used to have to work hard to just exist. And if we, and especially men,
and we're going to come back to that fairly soon,
channel that energy somewhere, they will internalize it and they will destroy themselves. And ultimately, they will abandon women, abandon their responsibility to their family, and that all comes back to, I will say it again, toxic feminism absolutely causing the destruction and the
Wait a
demise
minute.
of
They're going
American
to abandon women,
exceptionalism.
and they're going to abandon the family.
They
They've already
already
done that.
are.
They've already done that.
And
I have a question for you.
we've done it to them.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
With all of this, and let's call it what it is, with all of this hatred of men that is being espoused by the media, by the press, in the movies, by this feminist movement or that feminist movement, why isn't that a hate crime?
Oh.
Come on. I want an answer. You're my answer lady. It would sound like a hate crime to me. I mean, everything else is a hate crime. Why isn't that?
Because we got a bunch of women, George Soros-backed female DAs now in charge of prosecuting, which is why we're letting murderers out on the street. I'm just saying, I know, like, if y'all look at the number of woke DAs that are letting murderers, rapists, and robbers out, how many of them are women and not men? I think it's telling. I think it's. I'm just gonna leave that out there. I'm gonna sprinkle it out and let some people comment on what.
So I was
going
to make a really sexist joke, but I'm sure it would get bleeped off. And I'm getting the high sign from Lord Benjamin. But boy, there was just
I'm a
one.
total misogynist. We're both misogynists.
Can a woman be a misogynist?
Both of us.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought, folks. You can email me at robertc@asicfund.org, and you can email Ericka at
generallyirritable@gmail.com.
And the question I want you guys to answer for me, if we get this far, is, can a woman be a misogynist? And on that thought, folks, you're listening to The People. We'll be right back.